Some folks get really worked up about copying. They think if you didn't invent an idea from thin air, you're somehow cheating. But honestly, I see it differently. For centuries, artists and craftspeople have learned by copying the masters. It's how you learn the techniques, it's how you understand what works and what doesn't. There's a huge difference between a cheap knockoff and a thoughtful improvement. Taking a popular idea and making it your own, making it better, isn't stealing. It's innovation. It's how we get better products, better designs, and better woodworking projects for all of us. Think about it for a second. Almost everything you see is an evolution of something that came before it. Cars didn't just appear out of nowhere. The first ones were basically motorized buggies. Someone looked at a horse-drawn carriage and thought, I can make this better. That's the spirit we're tapping into today. We're not just blindly duplicating a project. We are studying it, understanding its soul, and then giving it a new and improved life. This process is at the heart of all creative work, whether you're a painter, a musician, or a woodworker in your garage. My goal is to show you that you don't need to reinvent the wheel to be successful. Sometimes the best way to start is to find a wheel that's already rolling and figure out how to make it roll smoother, faster, or with more style. It's a fantastic way to build your skills and your confidence. You get to follow a proven path, but you also get to add your own personal touch along the way. So, let's put aside any guilt about copying and embrace the idea of improving. It's a much more powerful and useful way to look at things. So, I went searching for a project to put this philosophy to the test. I scrolled through pages and pages of best-selling items on Etsy, looking for something that was popular for a reason. I wanted a product that was simple enough for most of us to build, but also had clear room for improvement. After a lot of searching, I found the perfect candidate. It was a product that had thousands of sales and glowing reviews, but I just knew, we could make it even better. Let's dive in and see what we can learn from it. The product I found was a wooden bath caddy. You've probably seen them. It's a simple board that sits across the edges of a bathtub. It holds a book, maybe a glass of wine, a candle, you get the idea. This particular one was a massive bestseller. It was made from a single piece of pine, stained a dark walnut color, and had a simple slot cut into it to hold a tablet or a book. It was rustic, it was functional, and it was affordable. I totally understood why people loved it. It solves a real problem for people who enjoy a relaxing bath. The popularity of this bath caddy comes down to its simplicity. The maker didn't overcomplicate it. They used common materials, just a standard pine board you can get at any home center. The construction was straightforward. Cut the board to length, route a groove, sand it, and stain it. This simplicity means the seller can produce them quickly and keep the price down, which is a huge factor for online shoppers. It's a perfect example of a product that hits the sweet spot between being useful, looking nice, and not breaking the bank. It's a great business model. Let's break down the appeal. First, the aesthetic. The rustic, farmhouse look is incredibly popular right now. The dark stain on the simple pine board fits that style perfectly. It looks handmade and has a warm, inviting feel. Second, the function. It does exactly what it promises. It holds your stuff securely while you're in the tub. The slot for a tablet is a smart touch for our modern lives. It's not trying to be a multi-tool. It has one job, and it does it well. People appreciate that kind of direct, no-fuss design. So, why would I want to mess with a successful formula? Because we're not just trying to make a product to sell, we're trying to become better woodworkers, and that means looking at a good design and asking, how can I elevate this? The original is great, but it's made to be produced quickly and cheaply. What happens when we prioritize quality and thoughtful details over speed and low cost? What happens when we, as mere mortals, decide to make the best possible version of this simple idea? That's where the real fun begins. Before improving it, I had to understand it, so my first step was to build an exact copy of the best-selling bath caddy. I went to my local home center and bought a standard 1x10 pine board. It's cheap, it's available everywhere, and it's what the original maker used. I measured the width of my own bathtub, adding an inch on each side for a stable overhang. I marked my line and made a clean cut with my miter saw. This is the kind of simple, satisfying step that makes woodworking so enjoyable. Next came the most important feature, the slot for the tablet. On the original, it looked like a simple groove made with a router. I set up my router table with a straight bit. I carefully measured to find the center of the board, and marked out the start and end points for the slot. Running the board through the router was a quick and easy process. I also decided to add a small circular recess for a candle or a mug, which was a common feature on many similar caddies. I used a Forstner bit for this, which gives you a perfectly clean, flat-bottomed hole. With the main features cut, it was time for sanding. This is a step that many beginners rush, but it makes all the difference. I started with a medium grit sandpaper, around 120 grit, to smooth out any saw marks and soften the sharp edges. Then I moved up to a finer 220 grit for a really smooth finish. Pine is a soft wood, so you have to be careful not to create divots, but it also sands very quickly. The goal was to make the surface feel good to the touch, preparing it for the finish. The final step in replicating the original was applying the finish. The Etsy product used a dark walnut stain, so I grabbed a can of the same color. I wiped it on with a rag, let it soak into the pine for a few minutes, and then wiped off all the excess. The stain really brought out the grain of the wood, even in a simple pine board. After the stain was completely dry, I applied a few coats of a water-resistant polyurethane to protect the wood from moisture. My copy was complete. It looked exactly like the bestseller. Now that I had my replica, I could really see its strengths and weaknesses. It was functional, but, it felt a little basic. The pine was soft and could easily get dented. The single board design was simple, but what if your tub was a different size? The finish was okay, but could it be better? This is the moment where we stop being a copier and start being a designer. So I decided to focus on 3 key areas for my upgrade: the material, the design, and the details. Small changes that would make a world of difference. First, the wood. Instead of soft pine, I chose a beautiful piece of walnut. Walnut is a hardwood, so it's much more durable and resistant to dents and scratches. It also has a naturally rich, dark color and a gorgeous grain pattern. It's more expensive, yes, but the upgrade in quality is immediately obvious. It feels more substantial, more luxurious. Using a premium material like walnut instantly elevates the project from a simple accessory to a piece of fine craftsmanship. It just looks and feels like a high-end product. Next, I rethought the design. The single board caddy is great, but it's not adjustable. My upgraded version would be made of 2 main parts: a central tray and 2 separate arm pieces that could slide underneath it. This would allow the caddy to expand and contract, fitting a wide variety of tub sizes. This is a huge improvement in functionality. I also designed a more sophisticated holder for a wine glass, a slot that you slide the stem into, so the glass is held securely. These aren't complicated changes, but they are thoughtful ones that solve potential problems for the user. Finally, I focused on the details. Instead of a simple routed slot for the tablet, I created a multi-level stand with a small lip to hold the device more securely at a better viewing angle. I also decided against using any stain. Why cover up the beautiful natural grain of the walnut? Instead, I would use a high-quality oil finish. An oil finish penetrates the wood, protecting it from within while highlighting its natural color and depth. It gives the wood a silky, smooth feel that is just a pleasure to touch. It's a finish that says I respect the wood. Building the upgraded version was a joy. The walnut milled beautifully and the oil finish brought the wood to life in a way that stain never could. I assembled the sliding arms, ensuring a smooth, snug fit. I finished everything with extra care, sanding between coats of oil to get that perfect, silky surface. When I was done, I placed the 2 bath caddies side by side, the simple pine replica and the upgraded walnut version. The difference was stunning. One was a good, functional product. The other was an object of beauty. The pine caddy looked perfectly fine on its own, but next to the walnut version, its flaws became more apparent. The stain on the pine looked a bit flat and hid the grain. The simple design felt rigid and less considered. The walnut caddy, with its rich color, elegant sliding design, and thoughtful details like the wine glass holder, just radiated quality. It was heavier, smoother, and more versatile. It was clearly the superior product, born from the simple idea of the first one but taken to a whole new level. So, what happened when I listed them for sale? I put both versions up on my own online store. I listed the pine caddy for a competitive price, similar to the original Etsy bestseller. I listed the walnut caddy for a much higher price, reflecting the better materials and extra labor. The result was fascinating. The pine caddy sold a few units just as I expected. But the walnut caddy, despite its higher price, sold more. People were willing to pay a premium for better design, better materials, and better craftsmanship. The lesson here is powerful. You don't always have to invent something completely new to be successful. Sometimes, the best opportunities are hiding in plain sight. Find something that people already love and find a way to make it better. Add your own skill, your own care, and your own thoughtful improvements. People recognize and appreciate quality. They are often willing to pay for it. Success isn't just about having a great idea, it's about great execution. So what do you think? What popular products should we upgrade next? Let me know in the comments.